The Buffalo Bills have a massive problem on their hands as they go into Atlanta, and Josh Allen and his team absolutely get demolished by the 2-2, now 3-2 Atlanta Falcons. And Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott have some serious questions to answer in their bye week. Hello, everyone. Josh Schreiber here for Bills Digest, and just watching an absolutely brutal game. There's no way to put it other than that, and I know you guys likely saw it as well. The Bills gave up nearly 500 yards in Atlanta tonight, and it was an absolute just a horrible game. There's no other way to put it. They got eviscerated on defense. Their offense did not come to play. Josh Allen had his worst game of the year by far. Joe Brady had a terrible game play calling, and that is just the start of it. So before we dive in, just a reminder, about 84% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel, so please hit that subscribe button because it helps us get through these losses, and hopefully these videos can give you guys some of that pain kind of ooze out of you a little bit. But anyways, Buffalo Bills, what are we doing? Josh Allen had a few moments where he was looking like this on the sideline. The Bills, their defense did not come to play. In the first half, they looked terrible. They looked like a JV team playing against an NFL team. Bijan Robinson absolutely ran all over them the entire game. It really never stopped until really the second half when the Bills were able to get a couple penalties to go their way, a couple sacks that ended up being big. Deone Walker pretty much single-handedly kept them in the game at one point, which we will get into that in just a bit. But the main story is the defense. Josh Allen obviously did not have a good game, but the defense was even worse. They gave up 443 total yards, and 299 of those yards were in the first half to two players. That was Drake London and Bijan Robinson. They had almost 300 yards combined in the first half. Putting yourself in that kind of hole to start a game is not going to give you any chance of beating any good teams. The Falcons are not a very good team. They lost 30-0 against the Carolina Panthers. They beat the Vikings. That was an okay win. That was a solid win. They beat the Washington Commanders without Jaden Daniels, without Terry McLaurin. And that game was 34-27, so they still gave up plenty of points. And the Bills made them look like the Kansas City Chiefs this week. And I say that in the worst way possible. And from the very beginning of the game, it was just the worst start. It was the Billsiest start you could possibly imagine. Before it even starts, we hear that Dalton Kincaid is out. That wasn't really expected. I did a video on it saying, well, we'll see. I think he'll probably play, but probably won't be a big factor. Maybe a decoy. They didn't play him, which is the right move. If he wasn't fully healthy, you don't risk it. Simply not worth it against an NFC team. You should have won the game regardless, no doubt about it. And then minutes before the game starts, we hear that Daquan Jones got hurt. He had a calf injury in warmups. We have no idea what the severity of it is, other than I saw reports saying that he was in a walking boot after the game. So that is a really bad sign. And you hear he gets hurt going into a game against the Atlanta Falcons, who, if they have anything, it's their running game offensively. Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier are a real two-headed monster, and you need as many interior defensive linemen as you can get in that situation. They lose Daquan Jones before the game even starts, and then the first drive of the game, the Falcons walk down the field. Two huge plays to Drake London. Tyler Algier breaks a couple of tackles en route to an easy touchdown. Taylor Rapp gets burnt around the edge on that play, and that was a sign for what was coming in the game. It was absolutely disgusting to watch, and the Bills have some serious questions that they need to answer here in the bye week. And then from that drive, in their first drive of the game, the Bills drove down the field right back. They respond with a touchdown of their own. Josh Allen looked phenomenal. And it had the feel of like, okay, this is going to be some sort of shootout. Josh Allen is going to have to keep them in this game. And that kind of ended up being true, that he would have to keep them in the game. But overall, they just stalled out after that. I mean, you get to that point where they drive right down the field, and then all of a sudden, they can't get anything to work. You have that 3rd and 13 play on the right side of the field where Khalil Shakir makes a catch that would have been a phenomenal throw by Josh Allen. It still was. It just wasn't executed. And Khalil Shakir just barely can't get the second foot in. The Bills have to punt. And then nothing was the same after that. So if we go drive by drive, we see in the next drive, the Falcons drive right down the field. Drake London ends up scoring. And again, it was a story of the defense just getting mauled. And you see this picture right here with Taylor Rapp on the ground, and Bernard, who came out of the game with an injury. He did not return after what seemed like an ankle injury. It was really, really rough in the first half watching the Falcons drive down the field. They should have had 28 points, if not 35 points. They had the Drake London touchdown at the buzzer of halftime when I believe it was either Cam Lewis or Jamarcus Ingram who just kind of blew their coverage. Drake London got past the defense and just barely stepped out of bounds. It had to be reviewed. So that should have been a touchdown. And then the Bills had a 4th down play where Michael Penix just didn't make a great throw, and it ended up being a turnover on downs when the Falcons could have made it a 3-score game. So 2 opportunities in the first half alone that the Bills really could have kept themselves in the game. But they don't score again in the first half. It's 21-7 going into it after a 81-yard Bijan Robinson touchdown, who I said it in the pregame show. This guy is going to torch us, and he did. He did more so than even I could have imagined. Over 230 total scrimmage yards. This guy's a monster. There's no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, you've got to do something about him. You can't give up 230 yards to this guy, especially when their wide receiver 1 is also putting up numbers in the hundreds. So really, really poor showing by the Buffalo Bills in that regard. It was at this point that the Bills just they didn't look competitive whatsoever. Not to mention, Josh Palmer got hurt in this game. Terrell Bernard got hurt in this game. Daquan Jones got hurt. Josh Allen hurt his hand, but kind of denied it post-game, which was a little bit weird. He was asked, "Did you hurt your hand?" He said no. They asked, "Are you fully healthy?" He said yes. Obviously, he's very frustrated after this loss. Maybe the truth comes out later on. He certainly looked like he was flexing his left hand after being brought down on a play in the first half, but I guess we will see about that. And then the thing that we had an eye on before the game, I made a video about Jordan Poyer before the game and why they needed him to step up. He barely saw the field. Cole Bishop was absolutely terrible in the first half. Taylor Rapp was bad too, but Cole Bishop was bad. Bishop ended up being taken out of the game with cramps. He later came back. It felt like the Bills had a little bit more rhythm when Jordan Poyer was in the game. Maybe that was just kind of the flow of the game, but I think Jordan Poyer has to start next in their next game against the Chiefs. I think that Cole Bishop and Taylor Rapp are going to get torched against the Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe not the Panthers in their next game, but the Chiefs are after that, and this is just not a duo that can stick if they want to have any success in the playoffs. Cole Bishop, I can see letting him ride, but you can't couple him with a guy like Taylor Rapp, who you just can't rely on. Cole Bishop is practically a rookie. He didn't really play much last year. He's still very young. He is not ready to take on a workload and to be the guy in a safety duo that is just kind of a liability right now. There's no other way to put it. Now, another part about the defense that really grinded my gears, I should say, is Trey White and Christian Benford were terrible. Like, concerningly bad. There was one point where Christian Benford had a pass interference call on him against Drake London where, there was some hand fighting, but Christian Benford just tried to tackle the guy. I mean, what? It is just the most uncompetitive, embarrassing football to basically admit defeat and say, you know what, I can't guard this guy. I've got to take him down. And it just gifted the Falcons a first down. I don't know what Penix was doing. It was a weird route that was happening. I don't think it would have been completed regardless. Benford cannot just be tackling Drake London on that play. Inexcusable, and especially in a game like that where it just feels like they're handing them the game and handing them first downs. Horrible. It was uncompetitive, brutal to watch. That's all I'll say about Benford and Trey White, but there needs to be significant changes on this defense because honestly, after this, I'll give the defense credit. They played all right. They only gave up 3 points in the entire second half. Part of that was because they blocked a field goal that would have been a shank anyways. Deone Walker kind of carried them. Michael Penix did not look very good. But you got to give them credit where credit's due. 3 points allowed. You're supposed to be able to win a game as the Buffalo Bills when you give up 3 points in the second half. There's no doubt about that. And then at one point, the Bills had a play where they're trying to convert on a second down. It was 2nd and 6, I believe, and they get a pass to Elijah Moore, and this really, really frustrated me. After we saw yesterday, Travis Kelce has a ball that gets called a catch, and very clearly hit the ground. Okay, I'll give it to you. You could argue, okay, maybe the ground didn't help him make the catch. Maybe he had control. I don't think that's the case. But Chiefs fans, you want to argue that? Go ahead. I can hear you. We see a ball get caught in the Bears versus Commanders game that I have here on the background. And it's DeAndre Swift. They call it a catch. They end up overturning it, calling it incomplete because the ball did hit the ground. There was no doubt about it, but it kind of looked like Swift had control as the ball was being caught. I don't know. At the very least, I don't think they should have overturned it if they didn't overturn the Elijah Moore catch. And I'll let you guys decide here. I've got the Elijah Moore catch right here. Is this a catch? You see, the ball never actually hits the ground. And you see that little glitch. I apologize for that. That was just part of the video. I promise you, this was the moment where it was closest to the ground, right there. And it didn't really change from there. So, very clearly a catch, it seems. I don't think the ball even did make contact with the ground, even if you argue that he didn't need help from the ground. It looks like he used his fingertips to kind of prop it up, and then his elbow swooped in there to reel it into his gut. But that was just my take on it. That really, really frustrated me. I'm sure it did you guys as well as Bills fans, but that was kind of just the way things went in this game. And you get to the second half, and this is the part that I think is inexcusable. Well, first of all, you don't use James Cook, but I'll get to that in a moment. I can't find this graphic right now. Whatever. Anyways, well, I think this graphic will do, but you have James Cook. He had 1.5 fantastic drives in the second half to start off the third quarter, and then we barely see him again the rest of the game. And I think they got a little bit too cute in that when they have passing downs, they like to have Ty Johnson on the field because he's a good pass protector. He's a good blocker. But it got to the point where they weren't really using him as a blocker. They were just having him run routes. And you're delusional if you think that you'd rather have Ty Johnson catching passes than James Cook at this point in his career. James Cook has been a top 5 running back in the entire league this year, and instead you go with Ty Johnson. You run a ridiculous screen pass right into the offensive line with Ty Johnson that goes absolutely nowhere. That was pathetic. And you don't even give James Cook a shot with the ball in his hands. I don't think he had a single reception all game long. Absolutely inexcusable by Joe Brady, who this is his worst game as a play caller. It has been a bad 3-week stretch. There's no doubt, as you see here on this tweet. But they abandoned the James Cook run. They completely abandoned it, and they didn't go back. It made no sense at all. The second James Cook got stuffed for a run, boom, out of the game, and it's like they're like, okay, this isn't going to work anymore. We tried it, we used it, whatever. It makes no sense. There's no logical conclusion. They had plenty of opportunities, and they had 3 chances in the second half to tie the game. 3 drives where they had the ball down by 7 points against an Atlanta Falcons defense that is maybe middle of the road. Maybe. They had 14 plays, 39 yards total in 3 drives. 39 yards. This is the Buffalo Bills led by Josh Allen, known for their offense. 39 freaking yards in 14 plays for 3 drives cannot happen. You are not going to win in the playoffs, forget go to the playoffs, if you cannot come back against an Atlanta Falcons team down by 7 and your defense is holding. There's just no way to put it. We knew the defense wasn't going to be great coming into the year, but we assumed the Bills could kind of make up for it on the offensive side of the ball. I am one who has been giving Joe Brady the benefit of the doubt. I've been giving Josh Allen, as much wiggle room as I could possibly give him. He is a phenomenal quarterback, top 3, no debate. He had a bad game. After the first few drives, he had a bad game. There's no way around it. He got too cute. He tried to make a shovel pass at one point on that 4th down play when he really didn't need to. He botched the handoff to Elijah Moore on the end around, which was a terrible play call, by the way. But you got to put it in Elijah Moore's gut. It wasn't a great handoff. I don't know if he's playing hurt really or what's the deal, but he simply tried to play hero. He looked like the Josh Allen of old, where he flashes great plays, but tries to play hero a little bit too much. He got sacked 4 times in this game, which I found a stat that he hasn't been sacked 4 times since 2019. I'm going to have to double check that in a little bit, but it feels right. I know he didn't get sacked more than 2 times in a game last year. That is for sure, and the year before that as well, but 6 years since being sacked 4 times, and against an Atlanta Falcons defense that is not known for their pass rush. They blitz a ton. They blitzed over 50% of the time in this game, the most Josh Allen has seen since 2021. But that was known. The Falcons blitz more than any team in the NFL, and the Bills were not ready for it. It's not like this is a team that doesn't blitz, and all of a sudden they're just throwing something at the Buffalo Bills because they're the Bills. No, this is a team that blitzes a lot regardless. You had to imagine they were going to come on and be aggressive with nothing to lose on Monday Night Football, needing a big-time win. And they didn't. They just didn't. It was bad. James Cook had 1.5 good drives. Josh Allen had 2 good drives, maybe 3. Other than that, bad. Absolutely bad. All 3 phases of the football. I guess special teams was solid. They blocked a kick. They had some good coverage on kick returns. That's about all they did right. Some bad penalties. Deone Walker was phenomenal. I'll give him that. He looks like he is a real stud, and I think it is incredibly ironic that Brandon Beane, as bad of a draft as he had, his one good pick was a guy that did not match the type of player the Bills have been looking for the past few years. The moral of the story is this. Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott are behind the 8 ball right now. The trend of the NFL has changed. It is now run heavy, play action heavy, and they have not adjusted. They continue to play nickel. They continue to look at undersized nose tackles and defensive tackles that simply have not been working out. They have not been able to stop guys like Derrick Henry, guys like Bijan Robinson now. The Patriots have run all over them at times. They simply cannot keep this up, and they're at the point where it's more than that. They just don't have talent on the defensive side of the ball. The guys they have that were talented are either washed up or not playing for a contract anymore. I don't know what it is, but it is pathetic. And I am praying that something is going to change because it simply can't happen. Bobby Babich has been a failure as a defensive coordinator so far. He was a great linebackers coach. I don't think he has the chops to be a defensive coordinator in the NFL, at least not yet. Landon Jackson, who is our second-round pick, I'm sorry, he was terrible. He's not an NFL player as of right now. He was a massive reach in the second round. So was TJ Sanders, as it's looking right now. And I mean, this is the very first time as a Bills fan that I am questioning Brandon Beane as a general manager. The first time, I'll admit it. I have been all in on him. I think he has found some incredible diamonds in the rough. I think he has made some great drafts. I think his move for Josh Allen has saved his butt. Really, I mean, he'd be gone if he didn't draft Josh Allen, which you can't make that claim with any validity because he did draft Josh Allen, and that was his whole goal. I do believe Brandon Beane is a good GM, but I think he is stuck in his ways right now and needs to change something because this is just not a way to win football games. It's simply not. Not with your personnel. You're not going to out-muster anybody on the defensive line, and it's ironic because the way they're building their offense, you would think that their defense, they would build it with the idea of like, all right, this is the best offensive game plan. We should build a defense that can stop what we have because it's so good. And this is what the rest of the NFL is doing on offense. But they didn't do it. It's mind-boggling to me. And hopefully, I'm going to sit on this tonight. Hopefully, something's going to change. But man, oh man, was this a brutal game for the Buffalo Bills. And it comes down to this. The New England Patriots are in first place in the AFC East. I'm a Buffalo Bills fan that grew up in New England. I grew up right outside of Boston. My dad raised me as a Buffalo Bills fan. And I grew up being tortured by Tom Brady and the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick. And that, oh my God, I'm getting PTSD flashbacks right now. But the Patriots are a better team than the Buffalo Bills right now. They really are. They're better coached by far. Their offense is not as good as the Bills. Their defense is certainly better. And Mike Vrabel kind of owns the Bills. He kind of does. He kind of owns the Bills. We saw it when he was with the Titans. The Bills beat the Titans pretty good in that playoff game a couple years back, but other than that, he has owned the Bills. And he has a better team than he had with the Titans. Quite simply put, he doesn't have Derrick Henry, but he does have Drake May. And Drake May is light years ahead of where Ryan Tannehill was when he was with the Tennessee Titans. So I'm scared of the Patriots. I'm scared of other teams in the AFC. I don't think we can beat the Chiefs. I think if we play the Chiefs right now, it's at least a 2-score game. At least. Maybe 3-score. The fact that we're home may change things, and maybe they can force some turnovers. The Chiefs don't turn the ball over a whole lot, so I don't have high hopes. Rashee Rice is going to be back. We have the Panthers first. Who's to say we win that game? I'll be there. I'll be at that game. Oh. Man, I hope they bounce back. Their wins this year, teams they've beat this year, 3-21. 3-21. What have the Bills proved? They're 4-2. Are they really? I don't know. I don't know if they are. I don't know if they're a 4-2 team right now. I think they're closer to 2-4. And it is painful that this is what it's coming down to, because you have that feeling that maybe the Super Bowl window is closing. And as long as they have Josh Allen, it won't be fully closed. You got to hope that you just sneak into the playoffs and get hot. They obviously always can, and this is very much recency bias, me coming on here after a brutal loss, but I had to get it out here. I'm sorry this is a longer video. Please let me know in the comments what things you want me to talk about this week, because we do have a long 2 weeks now with the bye week. Let me know in the comments what you want to see in future videos. I appreciate your support. Hopefully we get something different in the future. I'm Josh Schreiber for Bills Digest. Thank you so much, and go Bills.